Businesses like laundromats and storage units have some of the highest success rates, but they also have expensive startup costs that make them much less practical for beginners. So I found 6 business ideas that don't need a ton of money and still have a low failure rate. Starting with mobile car detailing. The startup costs can be as low as a few $100s, and the industry is growing at a rate of about 9%. Not to mention, for many people, cars are the second biggest expense they have, and all you have to do is deep clean and restore them to make them look good. But unlike a traditional business with the high expenses of running a storefront, being on the go significantly cuts down those overhead costs, making this much less risky. Your initial startup will vary depending on the services you're offering and the quality you buy, but assuming you're starting out simple, the essentials with a power washer and vacuum will run you around $500. But you can definitely make that initial investment back pretty quickly. There's people out there who are completely self-taught who started out offering free car washes to get the practice in and expanded into other services. Keep in mind you can also outsource this work later on while working on the business in the background. Since you don't need that many clients to be successful and repeat business is very common here, this creates a higher success rate and a steady income model similar to property management services. This can provide a recurring income stream while the property management market is expected to nearly double from $23 billion till 2032. And with this business, you'll have the benefit of being in real estate without needing a huge upfront investment. And while you aren't going to be able to start a full-scale company on a budget, you can definitely keep your costs fairly low by doing more work yourself. But with these management companies, there are different ways you can go about running them. You can focus on residential or commercial properties and handle a variety of services from finding and screening tenants to managing leases and the maintenance. For the revenue, property managers typically take an 8 to 12% cut of all monthly rent. So as you scale and take on more properties, your income can grow as well. And since people need housing regardless of what's going on in the world, this makes this business model generally recession-proof. But make sure to also take into account where you're actually going to be operating, as the demand will be very location dependent, which is quite the opposite from educational and tutoring services. This industry has had significant growth and demand recently, and still with a projected growth rate of over 14%, mainly driven by the shift towards remote learning during the pandemic and by seeing more and more use of mobile devices for education. And as you're able to watch this video, you basically have everything you need to get started. The profitability of this business is also relatively high and has much lower overhead compared to a traditional brick and mortar tutoring center. Not to mention, they tend to limit their services to just academic subjects and test prep, so you'd not only be able to reach a global audience of students around the world, but there's also no limit to what you can teach. This is great for people who already have a specialized skill or just like the idea of teaching and preparing material. It's a low risk option as you can start very small, tutoring 1 or 2 students on the side and grow your client base over time. In terms of income potential, it will vary, but with the flexible pricing model, skilled tutors can earn upwards of $10,000 a month. Aside from that, there are other ways of scaling, like offering group tutoring or recording lessons that you can sell on their own, which actually falls into our next business model of self-publishing. Now, the global e-learning market is expected to grow at a rate of over 18% until 2030. Again, from the pandemic really driving this growth. This is similar to the last model in the sense that you're still teaching, but the focus here is more on creating self-paced courses or ebooks, which is a great alternative if you prefer not to teach in real time or just have less availability. And the good thing is, creating the actual content can be essentially free, and then you have a few options when you want to list it. You can either pay a subscription fee to use an existing platform, or you can go with one that takes a percentage of your earnings with no upfront cost. Most of these sites have some built-in discoverability, so you should weigh that against the cost of your own marketing strategy. This is also considered low risk by the fact that digital products are very scalable. One product can be sold to thousands really without any extra costs. And while first-time publishers might earn $1,000 or less, many successful course creators make several thousands per month, and the top-tier courses can earn hundreds of thousands per year. Though most people that successful with this business model is from leveraging a community to funnel into the product. Now, shifting back to a physical business, we have the notorious vending machines. Their success rates are typically above 80%, meaning the majority of well-placed machines will generate a profit. But heavy emphasis on well-placed, as the location will make or break this business. But 10 to 20 machines with the right items in high traffic areas can definitely clear $50,000 to $100,000 a year. So people tend to view this as a passive way to make quick money, but this is like the top 5% of owners who are consistently reinvesting into new locations and playing a long-term game to hit those kind of numbers. I will say this also won't be the most budget-friendly option, as it will run you into the 4-figure range to start up. Most of that, of course, going to the machines themselves. Used vending machines typically range from $500 to $3,000, and from there you'll need to budget in maintenance, inventory, and delivery costs. You also might need to rent an actual spot for the machine or give a percentage of its income depending on the location. There can be workarounds to this, like low-income apartments or hotels that could let you place it for free since it benefits them too, but this puts you at risk of not being in a prime location. But what's good is that you can always start small with even just one machine, learn as you go, and gradually scale over time. Next up, we have home-based food production, and like vending machines, it's all about lower costs and flexibility for beginners. There's already established demand for authentic specialty foods that aren't mass-produced, and the overall direct-to-consumer food market is growing at a rate close to 19%. So all you're doing is selling high-quality food products from home without going through a third-party distributor. Since one of the biggest expenses for these food businesses is the rental cost, being home-based completely avoids this. If you already have a food product in mind you want to make, you might have the equipment, but if not, this could take up some extra costs. Aside from that, you only need to worry about inventory and marketing, which could be just a few $100s to start. And if you've seen those candy shops on TikTok like Pop and Candy with over 10 million followers, you know that they are making a killing. While they don't produce every product they sell, they're a prime example of what you can do with organic content. But also keep in mind that most successful businesses here are leveraging online sales and local markets. While the businesses we've talked about can give you a good starting idea, you shouldn't only consider them because of their higher success rate. There's plenty of people who've been successful with a business that was expected to fail on paper. And if you want to see how you can turn your passion into a strong business foundation, be sure to check out this video here. Let me know if you want to see me document and try out one of these business models, and don't forget to subscribe.